Hello and welcome to another of our To High School and Beyond videos where we interview folks from the community here in Hickory and the surrounding area to talk about their careers and for you students to think about what you could be doing if you might be interested in a similar career path. I'm joined today by Rick Ayers, a Construction Career Academy instructor here at CVCC. Rick, thank you for being here with us and being willing to share with our kids some of your insight in the construction industry. Could you start out by just telling us a little bit about what your career has been like over the years?
I will. Again, my name is Rick Ayers. I grew up in a little place called Martinez, Georgia. My dad built houses, and I started working with him when I was about 12 years old and in the summers and during holidays. In 1976, I moved to Oklahoma to build houses. But ended up actually building shipping crates for pipes that were going overseas over to Iran for the oil industry. I became a pipe welder while I was there and kind of dabbled into the refractory business, which is fabric linings in these vessels and these oil refineries. And that got me a job with a national company that had an opening in North Carolina. In 1978, I moved to North Carolina, got a little closer to home.
Could you tell us a little bit about the refractory business? I know you mentioned it. How is that industry different from what we typically think of in construction of just building houses and public works and things?
Well, the refractory industry, you probably want to know what a refractory is. The long answer there is it a constructive material which has the ability to withstand destructive forces at high temperatures? And the easy answer to that is basically a fire brick. We work in furnaces, industrial furnaces. When I first moved to this area, up in the Hickory area, every furniture plant had a big old boiler where they burned their scraps, their sawdust, and that kind of thing. And these boilers were lined with fire brick. And we'd go in there and tear out the old ones and put in the new ones. It was basically all of these furnaces that we worked on inside this high heat, 2,000, 2,500 degrees, is basically a demolition derby. So about every year you'd have to go in there and replace something. So it was a pretty good industry to be in. But we built boilers, brick kilns where they actually fire bricks into the furnace, and even the fire bricks that we used were actually fired in brick kilns. Aluminum melting furnaces was probably one of our biggest industries, where they melt aluminum cans. They make molten aluminum, and then they make stuff out of that molten aluminum. Steel furnaces, if you've ever seen a picture of a steel mill and they got the fire blowing all over the place out of a big metal ladle type thing, that has to be lined with fire brick. So the steel into all of our technology probably comes out of the Pittsburgh area because of the steel industry. But we built heat treating furnaces where they harden steel, crematories where they actually, in the funeral home business, a lot of them have crematories and they're lined with fire brick, and every once in a while they have to be repaired. We did a lot of the ceramic kilns with some of those really went to high temperatures. Some of them go up to 3,000 degrees. And we did a lot of technical ceramics where they actually use the ceramics in electronics. Also, the Kevlar suits that people wear and the bulletproof vest, they're actually lined with ceramic beads. We had one company that actually made ceramic panels for the sides of tanks and Humvees. They had ceramic panels hanging in the doors, and they were fired in a kiln.
Wow. It's amazing how many industries relate back to that when I never would have seen the connection had we not had the chance to talk. I appreciate that. So what kind of education and training did you need to get into the construction industry? You were in a pretty specialized form of construction there with the refractory business. What kind of education did you need for that?
Well, I graduated high school. I went off to the University of Georgia for one semester and decided that really wasn't for me. I had friends in the construction industry that were already working and making a good living. So I decided to, it's sort of where I grew up. So I decided to get back into the construction industry. Most of my education was hands-on in the workplace.
And when you were in that industry, when you were doing that construction, what would you say that were the best and worst parts of it?
Probably the best part was actually being able to go out and look at these jobs. I would come back and get a sheet of notebook paper and write all the stuff I needed to know and figure the jobs, get a price worked up. Then once we got the price worked up, I was able to get people and materials and equipment together and actually go out and do the job. And then come back and finish the job and get the unit that we were working on back up and running, and everything was great. That was the biggest part, just seeing that thing develop from a sheet of notebook paper to actually a working piece of equipment.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Seeing a project finished is got to be a good feeling. What would you say was were the toughest parts?
The toughest parts were working. Probably one of the best parts was working with people also, but one of the toughest parts was also working with people. You get so many different personalities. Some of the people that are working for you, of course, you have some control over that, but the people that you actually had to work with out in the field, your customers, some of them were great and some of them were not so great. So you had to put on a good person hat when you dealt with the customers. And that was tough sometimes, because sometimes they were not, in my opinion, they were not so nice, but a lot of them were. And the other thing too was in 1989, I actually went in business for myself. So the worst part of that was also laying awake at night, hoping that check that you were supposed to get for that job you did came into the mail so you could make the payroll the next week. So that was probably the toughest part, was just, just balance, a balancing act there. So.
Oh, yeah. So that's a whole nother aspect. You went from construction industry, stayed in construction, but then had a shift into entrepreneurship, running your own business. And then later on came into the education field, giving back to that industry and training up the next generation. You kind of seen it from all the angles, haven't you?
It's been a good ride. It really has.
It sounds like it. So what do you think are the most important skills for somebody who's looking into getting into construction? What skills should they be trying to develop?
Well, probably the most important thing right now, as far as education goes, would be some math, some simple math and geometry. That's what you use that every day when you're in the construction industry. The other thing is reading. Always read, always become a reader, always learn something new every day. Again, working with people skills is really important in the construction industry. You're going to deal with people you work for, work with, people that work for you. The people skills are really important. In my industry, people that had good carpentry skills, and just about anything in the construction industry, if you've got good basic carpentry skills, you can take that a step farther. In the heat and air conditioning business, you still have to have good carpentry skills. Electricians still have to have good carpentry skills. So it's just about every aspect of construction. Even in my business, we built a lot of forms. We had to build a lot of scaffolds. So the carpentry skills come in handy. And it's even if at home, if you've got good carpentry skills, you can do you can fix things around the house. So
for sure. So we actually teach carpentry at the high school level. And also a class called Core and Sustainable Construction. Would you suggest those classes for someone who wants to get into construction, even if they intend to be in one of the more specialized niches?
Yep. Even engineering. If you're going into engineering or architecture, that carpentry class and that core and sustainability class will surely help you. It'll put you a step ahead of the other students that have not taken that.
Now, some of the questions that I'm asking have actually come directly from our students who knew that I would be interviewing you. And one of them asked, how successful are the people who graduate from your courses? I don't know if you keep up with any of your previous students, but do you hear from them? Are they doing well these days?
I do. We've got, I've run across quite a few of them, but we basically work with high school students 16 to 18 years old, and they go through this program in the summer. We'll teach them. We'll have them in the classroom. We'll teach them construction math and safety, blueprint reading, that kind of thing. And then we actually line them up with a job that summer. The 16, 17-year-olds, they'll go and do their work. Most of the 18-year-olds that we have had, once they finish this program, go to work full time for the people that we have lined them up with. And a lot of times it's local contractors in the Hickory area, and they grab a hold of these guys, and they love the 18-year-olds because they can go to work just as soon as they finish this program. They can put them to work full time, and most of the 18-year-olds have taken advantage of that. A lot of the 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds that we've put through the program during the holidays, when they have time off, and in the summer they go back to work for these guys again. They've been very successful. And I hear from some of them. I've got several that are interested in going in business for themselves at some point in time. So they call me from time to time, ask me questions. And I'm glad to pass that information on.
That sounds great. It sounds like a great opportunity too. If we've got kids who want to sign up for your program, how would they start that? Is there a contact at Hickory High School? Do they go to CVCC? Where would they get started?
They could go to their CTE people there at the. They're working directly with the Construction Careers Academy. There's also a manufacturing academy and a furniture academy. If they're interested in those jobs, they can go directly to the high school. But we have brochures and flyers that we can send out and get the information to them. Or they can go to the CVCC website and go to the Construction Careers Academy if this is what they're interested in.
So that kind of leads into the next question. I think you answered a bit of this already. Do kids get to do actual construction while they're in your academy taking courses with you or in your program?
Well, again, we do the construction math and the safety, hand tools, power tools, that kind of thing. So we usually do a classroom. The first week of the summer, we'll do an 8-hour class every day. The first half of the class is when we're actually in the classroom. Then the second half is a lab. We'll go out and we'll have a project. We'll build something, whether it's cornhole sets or sawhorses or birdhouses or benches. We'll actually have a project that everybody works on. You'll be able to read the blueprints and actually use the tools in order to build those projects. And then after the first week in the summer, they'll go to work with the contractor and actually do some hands-on stuff with the contractors.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So, Rick, we're closing in on the end of our time. So I want to thank you for being here with us, for hanging out with us. Do you have any closing words of advice for any of our students that might want to get into your program or who just want to get into the construction industry in general?
Well, again, the simple math, you're going to use math every day in the construction industry. Geometry, when you start figuring slopes and circles and that kind of thing. So you're if you ever become an estimator, which I was an estimator, it was one of my basic functions. Even if you're working for yourself, you need to figure out how many 2x4s it's going to take to build that wall. That's just basic math. And again, read everything you can, especially if you can be industry specific with that. Learn. That's the big deal. Just keep learning every day.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Rick. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Appreciate your insight on the industry you've been a part of and that you're still supporting through your education efforts and the program that you're involved in right now at CVCC. It's just so grateful to hang out with you and talk with you and share your insights with our students. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure.